My heart sends you scenes that I'm playing go crazy before me when I close my eyes.
Hello, this is Jen, and you are listening to Dreaming Out Loud, a monthly audio chat where we talk about dreams, dreaming, memory, time, and other intersecting topics. I am recording this for you on September 10th, 2024. It's a beautiful, cloudless, sunny, late summer day where I am recording this for you. It's been a little while since we've had one of these unscripted, unedited conversations together. And the topic I want to talk about today is a topic I have not spoken about here on the audio chat or really written about in any of my articles before. And I'd say that that's probably because I feel like it's a serious topic. Not that our other topics aren't so serious, but it feels heavier to me. And it feels like a topic in which I'm not an expert on, and therefore I guess I have some imposter syndrome or just, some general concern about, offering an opinion about something that maybe is, really difficult and challenging and of concern for people listening. And the topic is scary things, scary experiences, scary events, frightening presences that occur at night, during various sleep states, and in between. And some of these are actual conditions that the mainstream medical industry have are diagnosable by doctors, whether that's sleep paralysis or night terrors or recurring nightmares, and I'm including those here in this discussion. But I think what I'd like to do is expand the conversation outward and maybe focus a little bit more on the experiences that are more unexplainable and maybe harder to talk about, harder to even explain to anyone, let alone understand for ourselves. And those can include experiences like just a general fear of the dark, being afraid to be alone in the dark, concerns about supernatural presences or entities. As a child, for children, those tend to be referred to as like monsters under the bed or ghosts or presences. And as I said that, I'm going to share with you, as I said that, the lights in my office where I'm recording this for you flickered and went off and went back on, as if to say, yes, exactly those types of things. And it's funny to me here because it's daylight, but I'm not alone in here where I am. But if it was nighttime and it was dark and I was alone recording this for you when that happened, I might feel a lot more on edge, a lot more braced, a lot more frightened by that synchronicity than I feel right now. I think my concern about not being an expert on the topic of night terrors or sleep paralysis or conditions that have been studying it in sleep labs, or that certain doctors can give prescriptions for, is really unwarranted, because just a simple search of night terrors up on the internet can show you that even the experts don't have much to say or prescribe or do about these conditions. So I'm not sure that there's anybody out there that's much more of an expert than your average dreamwork practitioner, dream researcher, someone who's very interested in researching and learning and writing about dreams. But if you're aware of others out there who are experts and have who really have something novel and useful and helpful to say on these topics, I'm always eager to hear about those. I can tell you that one researcher that I do know who specifically writes a lot about and researches nightmares, especially nightmares that are a result of trauma, whether that's an actual traumatic event or ongoing childhood trauma due to abuse, is Leslie Ellis. And she offers a lot of high quality content on social media, and she has written a book focused on trauma and dreams. And she's definitely somebody that if you're interested in this topic, you should learn more about her work. Like I said, I'll leave you a note, a link to her website and her book in the episode notes. So I haven't really talked about that scary experiences at night, because I'm not sure, even for myself, what there is to do about it, right? And I'm not saying that there isn't anything to do about it. I'm just not sure what is the right thing to do. At times in my life, I've decided to cut back or cut out content that I'm reading or ingesting otherwise, whether it's on YouTube or in podcasts or even in conversations with people. I've decided to cut back on content that I think is a strain on my nervous system. I'm very sensitive even to fictional content. My daughter really likes to watch Law and Order SVU, and there are times that I can sit and watch with her and be with that graphic, violent content, and there are times when I really can't, because I see how it affects my sleep and my dreams and my in-between states at night. But I'm also talking about just like the general research I do on the supernatural or on the paranormal. I started reading this week John Vivanco's book, the title of which is escaping me right now, but I'll leave it in the episode notes. John Vivanco is a well-known remote viewer, and he wrote a memoir on his experiences. And the book itself is reasonably light as a memoir, but his experiences detail or hint at various paranormal experiences he's had across the course of his life. Potential alien abduction when he was a child, a potential interaction with an alien in the middle of the night as an adult, meetups and sort of intrusions by what he refers to as paraphysical entities during remote viewing sessions. For those of you who don't know what remote viewing is, it is a sort of methodical way of practicing sort of telepathy and extension of awareness beyond your now space and now time. And there were programs designed by the CIA, I believe in the 70s and 80s, where individuals were taught these methods so that they could be used as psychic spies. I think there was a Netflix show I did not watch called Third Eye Spies. Someone on here might comment and know, but John Vivanco was in this group of trained remote viewers, and in his memoir, he writes about these interactions in some of these altered states. And while I'm really interested in reading about individuals' experiences, what I noticed last night as I was reading the book is that it really ramped up my nervous system, especially since I was reading it just before bed. So all this is to say that, there are times in my life where I know that I'm in a good state to be open to such experiences. And there are times in my life when I know, okay, I think it's better that I turn off whatever is inside of me, or whatever, however I'm made, that allows me to be open to supernatural paranormal experiences. I know that there are times that I'm better suited for handling those, and times when I'm not so suited to handling those. And that leads me to what I want to talk about today. And we're just going to touch really briefly on this topic, and it's something that I would like to explore more in depth in future audio chats. But I just want to offer some suggestions for people who might be struggling with nightmares, really difficult, frightening content in their nightmares, or adults who, I'm going to put this in italics, still are afraid of the dark. And I say that because I'm one of those, and it's not something to be ashamed of, though I imagine that many adults who are probably have some type of shame or embarrassment to talk about that. Bedwetting, night terrors, and for those of us who have had unexplainable events happen at night, whether that's visually seeing a presence in our room, not visually seeing it, but sensing some sort of ominous presence around us, or those of us who have either had abduction events or have a hunch they might have had abduction events. Another version of this is sort of like an out-of-body experience or a lucid dream, where you have some belief that you are awake, but you're really asleep, and in that in-between state, you encounter an ominous or outright threatening presence. I'm here today to validate those experiences, that you are not alone in having those experiences. I don't think individuals who have such experiences are crazy or definitively unwell. I think that they're probably a lot more common than we individually realize. And I think that these are also the types of events that people don't tend to share, and certainly don't tend to bring even to the professionals that they're working with, whether that's a doctor or a therapist or any other kind of wellness practitioner, oftentimes because they can't even explain it to themselves, or, don't have the language to describe what happened, or feel like they'll be ridiculed or shamed, or perhaps, they don't share them because they think, well, what is there to do? And I think there's a really large group of people that self-medicate to try to not have these experiences. And what I will say, and I always say to every person that I work with, the number one priority for anybody working with dreams or sort of paranormal experiences is wellness, is health and well-being. And if someone if a client comes to me and says that they're not sleeping well or they have insomnia, then my priority is always to help them get better sleep. I always say that, we can always return to dreams once sleep and well-being are restored, but sleep and well-being are, the number one priority for everybody. We need to be healthy to be able to be strong enough to, look into these difficult topics. And so if a person needs medication or, herbal medicine to work on their sleep, then obviously there's no shame in that either. But assuming that we're talking about somebody who is reasonably healthy and gets reasonable sleep every night and feels rested in the morning, then I think that, these are topics that could use, more conversation, more discussion, and more knowledge, among our practitioners. I think I have never brought any of my nighttime events or fears to any therapist that I've ever seen in my life. I've certainly never brought that content to any doctor, any medical doctor that I've seen. And not necessarily because I'm ashamed, but mostly because I didn't think that any of them would have anything to offer me. So if you have experienced or are currently experiencing any one of these types of, events or feelings or sensations at night or in the dark, first off, I want to let you know that I'm somebody who's open to hearing about these types of experiences. And I know a few other people that I could recommend who would be open to hearing about these and talking about them with you. And so I would say that the first step, if you're having these experiences, is to find a friend. Confide in a friend or a partner, or if you have a professional in your life, even if that person isn't a dream expert or a sleep expert, but is someone who has treated you and listened to you and been open to things that you've shared with him or her in the past, then, I would suggest confiding in that professional that you're having these experiences at night. Other than Dreamwork practitioners, certainly if you're looking for a practitioner who tends to have more experience with this, I would say look for a depth psychologist, a Jungian analyst. So that's number one. Number two, I would encourage you to read some books or listen to some podcasts, specifically with, I would say, people who have written, on the topic of dreams. Donald Kalshed, I just finished one of his books, which I would highly recommend, and I'll leave it in the episode notes. He talks to this topic a lot. The first third of his book is about sort of psychic experiences or supernatural experiences that children who experience childhood trauma tend to have. And the first third of this book is really validating if you are someone who, as a child especially, but even as adult, has had any kind of interactions with, the supernatural or the paranormal, ghosts, imaginary friends, fairies in the woods, that sort of thing. So I would say the second thing you could do is read a few books that make you feel less alone with this experience. That's been really validating for me. And, there are a few online communities or forums where you can, find more people who've had these types of experiences. It definitely is helpful to not feel alone with them. But then the third suggestion I have is sort of like what not to do. And I think this is a tricky one, because when we're having strange, uncanny experiences in our lives, and when the people who we spend our lives with in person don't understand or can't relate. What we tend to do, at least in the last 20 or 30 years since we've had, the internet available to us, is find people who do. But it ends up becoming a slippery slope. And I've seen this in my dreamwork practice and with clients and in myself. I mean, admittedly, I have come upon people that I thought were really good resources for me because they were addressing the kind of experiences that I was having. But then the more I got to know their work, or the more I got to, experience them as a teacher or as an influencer, as a person, the more I realized that, I really didn't trust their character, or I didn't really like the way that they would talk to their audience, or the people they affiliated with didn't resonate with me. And I think that's something we need to be aware of, especially when it comes to topics like lucid dreaming or out-of-body experiences or alien abductions, is that there are people who are a lot more balanced and a lot more well-intended and a lot more educated on these topics, and then there are people who are really looking for status and attention and fame. And we really have to be smart consumers of the content that's out there. I mean, something really great has happened in the last 5 or 10 years, which is that esoteric topics that, you couldn't even find a single book in the library or bookstore about them have now become like really popular topics on social media and on the internet. UAPs, UFOs is probably the most obvious topic that I think has become a lot more mainstream, a lot more accepted. I would also say probably psychedelics is something that, 15, 20 years ago was really like too taboo to talk about, out loud. And it was a lot more difficult to find books and podcasts and interviews and on the topic. But now it's pretty easy. And the side, sort of like the disadvantage to the increase in content and the widening of the communities where you can talk about these things or learn about these things, is you have to be a really wise consumer out there. And so, I just want to, sort of say that it's really important that you don't automatically identify with a teacher or an influencer just because it feels so good to finally be acknowledged, or to finally feel like you're not alone in your experience. Just because someone's having an experience that seems similar to yours doesn't mean that they know what you are experiencing. Yeah, this is something I'd say I've learned the hard way, and I'm still learning. And I would say the same for your trust of someone like me, or a trust of this audio chat. I would hope that you're here because there's something about my way of being or the way I present myself that resonates with you, right? But it's important that we check in with ourselves when we're out there in these communities, in these forums, listening to teachers, taking in content from influencers, and remind ourselves that, we don't know any of these people. I mean, I'm assuming here, and it might not be the case for you, but oftentimes we don't know these teachers in waking life. We haven't sat down to have coffee with them. We haven't interacted with them in person. And there is a lot that you can get from interacting with someone one-on-one in an office, with a practitioner, that you can't get online when you're listening to a podcast from a supposed UFO expert or lucid dreaming expert. And so just be mindful of the content you're ingesting. So, I know that there really isn't a prescription in this audio chat, and there really isn't necessarily like any kind of conclusion, but I just wanted to maybe kick off what I hope will be a more extended discussion about these events, to let you know that if you're having frightening experiences at night while you're asleep or while you're awake or in a hypnagogic state, that you're not alone. And I hope that even just the resources I've given you on this audio chat are useful for you in the meantime, and to let you know that this is a place where you can, bring those experiences, and I can do my best to either answer your questions or refer you to books or people that I think could do a better job of answering. That is all I have to share with you this month. I am wishing you good sleep, good dreams, and health and well-being, and I'm sending you love across time and space. Until next time.